You know what, everybody, and we are back for another Monday night of Five Guys on Live. We only got wait, let me scroll down. Yeah, we only have at the moment, four of you people here with me. It's four of us, right? And so I think that we'll have another joining shortly. Dr. Pickett is out until October the 11th, working on some amazing projects and ventures. And filling in for him tonight is noted diversity inclusion expert, the one and only Zach Thomas, who is in no way unfamiliar to all of you who watch. He is definitely the Marlo Hampton of the Five Guys on Live. How are you doing, Zach Thomas?
I'm good. A little tired. Today was the first day I actually had to go in the office and put on some real clothes.
So how was that experience? Because many of our viewers are doing the exact same thing. They are returning to work, back in the office. How was that for you? And for those of you out there, if you have returned to the office or returned to work after being out for a period of time, drop the comments and tell us how it is.
It actually was interesting. It was good to get out the house, but putting on clothes like an actual suit, tie, dress shirt wasn't cute at all. I missed my shorts and polo on the top.
And not bathing, right?
And not bathing, right.
Not bathing
I had to actually wash my ass.
I want to once again reiterate that many of us do take baths multiple times a day. The fact that Zach Thomas chooses to not do that in no way reflects on the Five Guys on Live. With that being said, we will jump right into a number. Christian said it's a process. It's not a process to bathe every day, Christian.
The answer isn't.
You know that.
That is not what he meant. He meant going into the office.
Process to bathe. It's very easy, and it's something all of us should do.
He meant going into the office. Don't try, Christian.
Zach got a problem with people who don't shower.
Listen, I do.
It is the single. It's the effective way to combat COVID-19 is to wash your ass. Okay, that's the single most effective way.
You are just as bad as the anti-vaxxers begging for ivermectin when you don't wash fully. That ain't gonna do it. Purell is not gonna do it. You can rub Purell on your hands. You can rub Purell on your swollen testicles from the vaccine if you are Nicki Minaj's cousin's friend, and you still are nasty. You're dirty. Wash your butt. So with that being said, and while we're talking about those who need to wash their butts, we are now going to talk about this man right here. Hello, Mama Vera. I know that you did an excellent job of teaching your son how to wash. He always smells amazing and it's always top of the line. Candy, welcome. Now listen. I want to preface this by saying to everybody before I go back to this man, if you watch my content, if you follow me on TikTok, if you see me on Instagram, you know I really don't like to talk about the twice impeached one-term president who is now a Florida retiree at all. I believe that mainstream media should not give this man nor his supporters any attention. To me, they are not warranting any attention. It's time for this man to fade away to the sunset, but I'm talking about him tonight because what he did this weekend really is worthy of debate. This weekend, former President Donald J. Trump came to the state of Georgia. He went to the Perry Fairgrounds and he went on a tirade and said a whole bunch of stuff. In his huge speech, he attacked, of course, our current Secretary of State, John Raffensperger. He said that there was something wrong with the man. He, possibly was trying to insult our American citizens who are on the autism spectrum by attacking Raffensperger and saying some of the things that he said. But very specifically, what was most shocking is how he attacked Governor of Georgia, Brian Kemp. If you watch anything that I do, you know that I am not a fan of Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, who has allowed COVID to rage out of control in the state and who is holding on to federal relief money while Georgians go hungry, while Georgians struggle to find work. And he announced that he was going to give that money to police officers, $1,000 bonus to law enforcement officers and other first responders, instead of giving that money to the neediest citizens. And I'm not saying I don't think that our first responders deserve a $1,000 bonus, but I do not think they deserve it from Federal CARES Act funds that are intended to help support the economy and those who may be at greatest risk for losing their jobs due to COVID-19. So with that being said, this man, this two-time impeached former president of the United States, came to Perry, Georgia, attacked Brian Kemp, and said specifically that Stacey Abrams would have been a better governor for the state of Georgia. So much was said. I'm putting it together in some content that I'll share on Instagram and TikTok. But I want to know from the gentleman here and from you viewers, what are your thoughts about the things that Donald Trump said?
I'm just actually
really, is Brian Kemp, is he beyond, is this man, and should he even run for re-election? One thing also that was shocking is that the crowd booed him loudest of all. Of everything that Donald Trump was saying, this crowd of Republican Donald Trump supporters booed our current governor like none other. Gentlemen, your thoughts?
So you're saying Brian Kemp attacked, Trump attacked Brian Kemp?
Yes.
Yeah, that is accurate.
I'm actually shocked about that, to be honest with you. I'm actually shocked about that.
Here's the thing. It's not the first time that he's attacked Brian Kemp. This is still in connection with the big lie about the votes in Georgia and wanting Brian Kemp to do more. And then, Zach, you gonna sit here, call that man John. That man's name is Brad. Okay, get it right.
You're right, Brad Raffensperger. My bad. I had a long day too. Now I didn't get dressed and go nowhere, but I still had a lot of work to do from home. Lots of me. I actually wear nice shirts for every meeting because I'm a professional man. But again, it was a lot. It was a very full day.
It's a lot of shade being thrown to me tonight, but I'll take it.
There is, Zach. There's a lot of shade being thrown towards you.
But I'll take it.
But yeah, so
you know what? Is it shade or is it reasonable? There's a difference, and I learned that last night. Okay, not shade. It's reasonable.
No, it's shade.
Reasonable.
Okay, no, Robin. You be like Robin and Giselle. Okay.
Right. But
I'm Robin. I'm not Giselle now. I'm no Giselle. She's too.
You definitely are. You're a mixture of both, and more so Giselle than anything. But that's okay.
Those are lies, and I will not stand.
That's the story for the after show. So Trump is upset.
Wait a minute. Get your spelling right. You mean Z-A-C-H. Get the spelling right. I'm certain you did see him at Chick-fil-A. He's oftentimes there.
I'm right behind you, Zach. I'm there too.
Y'all listen, okay?
Go ahead, Darius.
This all night.
Go ahead, Darius.
No.
Okay.
I'm gonna mute my mic after that.
Okay, because I'm putting my paddle up in a second. Now, Trump is upset because Kemp would not, double down on his claims that there was election fraud in Georgia. That has been debunked by every entity you can think of. If there were a way that they could have made it stick, they would have made it stick by now. But that's why he's upset. He said that Stacey Abrams would have been a much better governor. That's one thing I agree with him on. He's always called Kemp an idiot since this situation has happened. That's another thing I agree with him on. It was just interesting to me that it happened in Perry, Georgia, of all places. Like, you know who you're dealing with. And so also he knows his base and he knows where to go to get a rally going. And then also when he did say that about Stacey Abrams, did y'all hear that there was a heckler saying, we don't want her? So so when he says that Stacey Abrams would have been a better governor, that's just to rile Kemp up. No one in Trump's base is actually going to support Stacey Abrams for governor of Georgia should she run. They want someone worse than her. They want someone like Sonny Perdue, who was in the Department of Agriculture, or someone worse, someone who's actually going to go along with the Trumplicans and their crazy agenda, because of course he does have a solid base in Georgia, especially in rural Georgia and especially in South Georgia, to be specific.
They probably want someone, what's her name, that ran against
The one who ran against radical liberal Raphael Warnock, we call her Lady Giraffe.
She's probably
what's her name?
Lady Giraffe. But you may know her as Kelly Loeffler.
Right. Thank you.
So, one thing that stands out, I don't believe that. I think you're 100% right, Darius. Of course, these Republicans are not going to vote for Stacey Abrams, right? There's no way they're going to vote for Stacey. But here's the thing, they're just simply not going to vote. They're not going to vote. They're going to stay at home and they're going to not vote for governor because of the anger and the hatred and the outrage that Donald Trump is sowing towards Brian Kemp. And it's really unfortunate because Brian Kemp has done everything that he can do to appease Trump and praise Trump and try to make up from doing everything he could other than be illegal and try to steal an election and go to jail.
I don't know if I agree with that, Zach. I think the Republicans are going to vote. Being what happened with this recent presidential election and Georgia turning blue, I think now they have something to prove that no, we're not a blue state, we still red. And so they're going to come out and vote in droves for whatever election that's coming up. And so I think it's up to the Democrats to remain vigilant and staying on top of people to vote. So they definitely will vote. Thank you.
I'm telling you, I think it's going to be an I think you guys are going to be really shocked to see that it matters more to Trump and Trumplicans to send a message to scare other Republicans than it is to win the governorship of Georgia. I don't think that Trump as a national figure cares at all about the state of Georgia and who is leading the state of Georgia. What he cares about is proving his point, scaring these other Republicans in other states and beating them and scaring them into submission so that when he runs again in 2024, he is able to steal the election because he'll have support in those Republican run states. He doesn't care about who runs governor. He's concerned about getting back in office. That's my belief. And Tanya, I don't believe we can keep numbers up when Democrats keep failing. But we'll talk about that after we talk about the people in the background. And when I talk about the people in the background, I'm talking about these people. Hey, Alicia, how are you doing, my love? Rhonda, these people right here. Look at this. Now, what do you see in the background of this picture? What do you see?
Trump. I mean, blacks with Trump.
Your cousins. Your cousins.
Them is y'all folkses. That's y'all.
Mississippi. They went to Georgia.
Mississippi, Alabama. It's a little mixture of everything.
Them your cousins.
You said they're from Sparta.
What?
They from Mayberry, okay? These blacks for Trumps in the background. My Aunt Renee is here. How are you doing, Auntie? These blacks for Trumps. These blacks for Trumps are from Mayberry, a fictitious place that does not exist. And I believe, again, it was all over the internet. I believe that many of these blacks for Trumps are paid to be there. I just cannot.
Why are we even giving them airtime and even talking about
you couldn't pay me enough.
Right. I don't care how much money you would give me.
I mean, I don't believe they're paid. I believe there are some blacks for Trump.
I agree half and half. I agree that there's some that actually truly believe in this man, and I believe that some people just want, especially when you've seen those commercials about how people were sick and Trump came and did this and saved the day. They definitely were paid for that 100%. I do not believe that.
You don't think they were paid?
No,
I think they were paid. Zach said he doesn't believe that.
This is my question.
They either pay or they.
There are definitely black people out here who I believe are going to support Donald Trump. And I'm not saying that they're not. They're out there. I have had them on my Facebook page. Now, they no longer exist on my Facebook page because they all got blocked during the election. I went on a blocking spree, and there's so many black people for Trump, maybe like 8. And I'll never speak to them again, nor will they ever speak to me because guess what? To them, I no longer exist. But here's the thing. Why would a black person vote for Donald Trump? This is something that we need to unpack very briefly in this discussion because I want to understand. Sometimes I feel as though Zach Thomas is one step away from voting for Trump. Can you give us any insight? CJ, don't laugh because you, as a fellow Chick-fil-A eater also who lives in Buckhead, where the crime is low, according to you, you are actually also right on the precipice.
Not according to me. That was according to them. I never said the crime.
Please give me insight
into your
Who's the one giving to the Conservative Party? I have not donated any money.
Wait a minute.
Who's the one giving to the Conservative Party?
Because I never said that the crime was low here in Buckhead. Darius said that he feels like ATL Scoop makes it seem like the crime is more than what it really is. When I feel like they show exactly what the hell is going on here.
Now, see, I ain't even did nothing. Now, why am I in it?
Now, see, why?
You see how I get brought into this?
Now that one was sad, okay.
Now, Andre, that black business owners, I'm a black business. Some black business owners love Trump. I think a handful. The majority of black business owners that I know are not in love.
You don't. Darius is a black business owner. He doesn't. Yeah, I know you two don't.
But here's the thing. Of course that was a little bit of humor. And Amber, I learned from the best. I learned from the one and only Candace Dillard, who absolutely is carrying a whole entire show on her ponytail, because if it wasn't for her, the show would have absolutely no value. I learned from the best. My students taught me.
Her album just dropped too, and her album is great, by the way.
The album is great. It is great. I love the album.
And to go off of what Candace just said, you said excessively reported. So I guess the other day when there was a robbery and shooting at the Lenox Mall on Sunday, that was excessively reported when it was all over the news.
No, and they had goals. They just hype things up. I don't think it's necessarily. It's just a overhype.
How you overhyping stuff
to portray Atlanta in a negative light?
How is it? Hold up. How are you overhyping someone? These things are actually happening. These are not. It's not fake news. It's really happening. So how are they overhyping it? You can't overhype something that's happening.
Well,
it'd be different if these things were it'd be different if they were fake lies and these things were just being reported on ATL Scoop. But these same things that are being reported on ATL Scoop is being reported on the actual news. So they're not overly excessively. They're telling the truth of what's going on.
So as we just talking about blacks and Trump, you guys still. I just want to know, if people are saying they know these blacks.
Well, I mean, there are black people who support Trump, and
why?
I mean, we can't take that away. I mean, people have, as I would always say, diversity of thought. There's something that appeals to him that they see themselves in. Of course, Herschel, his son. And others that support Trump. So, I mean, we can't take that away from them. That's their thought. People might ask, why do you support Biden or
why does a white person
or whoever you support?
Right. You can say the same thing.
I think it's okay. I mean, if that's your point of view and your thoughts.
To piggyback off of Zach, and I don't want to really go more into this, but the same way you say black people support Trump, a white person can say the same thing. Why do a white person support Obama when he was in the house? You know what I'm saying? They can say the same thing. It is the same thing.
It's not the same thing.
No.
President Barack Hussein Obama was not sitting here saying the racist rhetoric against white people that Donald J. Trump allows to say against black people.
I never said he said that.
Donald J. Trump has supported an insurrection. Donald J. Trump caused an insurrection. Donald J. Trump and his followers continuously misalign the black community on a regular basis.
That's not what I'm saying.
Party of white supremacy. Trumplicans are a party of white supremacy, and that is absolutely nothing compared to President Obama. To be honest with you, there are a number of black people who right now are trying to rewrite history and cast President Obama in a negative light, and people are even saying President Obama was anti-black. Not me, but young children on TikTok who worship Nicki Minaj and probably connected.
Here we
I'm
go.
done with that. I don't even care to talk about Trump. I don't really care.
I'm so sick.
And so Dwayne Carter says, has there been a robbery or shooting in South Fulton recently? Right. You don't know because the news is constantly reporting buckhead crime and ignoring other. That is the point that Candy is making, CJ.
Hold on.
Because there are shootings happening all over the city, but it's all about the perception that people have, and that's why their ATL Scoop is excessive.
Exactly.
Oh, okay, I can roll with that. Okay.
So yeah, and that's the point. And so you're right. I told y'all CJ was right there on the borderline.
Don't do him like that. Do not do CJ.
He is absolutely at the heart.
Oh, but you let him talk about me there. But it's
at the heart of the patriarchy. In addition to the heart of the patriarchy, and while we do have, and we talked about violent crimes, we talked about the shooting at Lenox Mall that did happen. We also had this weekend another horrible shooting that happened in Tennessee at a Kroger. CJ, tell us about it.
Yes, in Quarryville, which is outside of Memphis or Nashville. I'm sorry. Collierville. I'm sorry. There was another shooting. 15 14 people were injured. One died. The lady who passed away, her name was Olivia King. So rest in peace to her. My prayers go out to her and her family. The shooter who did this heinous act, his name was UK Train or Up Train. He was 29 years old, and he was allegedly a third-party vendor. Now, Kroger and the police station has not yet released how or what vendor he was hired by, but they're saying it was a third-party vendor. And this also now marks a 10th mass shooting in Tennessee, which they had spoke about that a little bit on CNN as well. So within the state of Tennessee, this has been the 10th shooting. And this is now the fourth or fifth shooting. I could be wrong with my number as far as grocery store shootings for the year of 2021. As we all know, it first started with Boulder, Colorado. There was an incident in New York. There was an incident here in Atlanta where the shooting didn't take place, but the guns were actually placed in the bathroom at the Publix in Atlantic Station. And I want to say there was a shooting in Texas as well. So of course, I just want to get everyone's opinions and thoughts. When are we going to get, a control on guns? I can't. I don't. It's just sad. It really is sad, honestly. It's to the point now you can't even go grocery. I mean, it's been like this for a while now, but you can't even go grocery shopping with nothing happening, just to get your local, things you need.
Yeah, I mean, I think crime is up everywhere, and it's actually crazy, especially with the shootings and now a lot of break-ins. Even been in the DMV area. A couple of weeks ago, we had a shooting on the U Street where people are just outside the restaurant and they're shooting and people are ducking and dodging. And so I think it has a lot to do with, one, you talked about gun control. There needs to be some safer laws on that. But also we need to talk about mental health because this pandemic has caused a lot of issues with mental health. And so one, there's nothing for people to occupy their time because stuff is closing or they don't want to get vaccinated or they don't want to do this. But also they still have issues of being secluded if they don't have anybody at home with them, or the loss of people. If they did have somebody at home, they're getting to know who they are with their partners. And that is ending because I'm truly learning who you are. And so I'm going on. And so that's creating mental health issues. And so there's a lot of things that are contributing to the mental health where people are just grabbing guns and say, if fuck it, I'm excuse my language tonight, but they're just saying, I'm going to take some people out and then take out myself.
So Zach, I have to, yeah. So the guy, he did also kill himself, and that's what they were saying as well. They won't even never know his motive now because unfortunately he took his own life. I do agree with you that a lot of this has to do with mental health, but I also feel like a lot of people now are using it as a clutch, and they already had intentions on doing this, and now they just want to add what's going on within the climate for the reason of why they're doing it. So I do believe partially it's mental health, and I do believe partially that people just really want to do it, and now there's a perfect opportunity for them to do it. They've been wanting to do it. Why not do it now? Then they can say, "Oh, it's mental health, it's a pandemic, and all this other stuff." That's just my thought behind it, or whatever.
CJ, maybe I'm Pollyanna and thinking I don't think people waking up and saying I want to go shoot up a grocery store and then kill myself. I think there's still like some mental.
You don't think that?
I don't think they already planned it and saying, "Oh, I'm gonna blame it on COVID and stuff."
So when you think of serial killers in the past, notorious serial killers.
But this wasn't a serial killer. Like that's
I'm just saying, like their thought process. I'm not saying that people. Well, I guess. Well, I don't know. I'm just saying. I think that's my opinion. I think it's a little bit of both. And I did also check on the news that this is 100. This makes it the 147th mass shooting for the year 2021. Throughout shootings, school, grocery stores, public events. It's 147 now, as of date.
I definitely think there is something wrong with anyone who is driven to commit a crime, period. And a crime of this magnitude is absolutely, I think, egregious. And I think it is a part of a mental health issue and a mental health crisis. And I think it's also about the overabundance of gun control and the media and so many things. And what's important, yes, Rhonda, this was a young black man, a young black shooter.
No, he wasn't black. He was Asian.
The report that I read showed a young black man, but maybe
I don't know a black man from his picture, his image. He looks Asian, and his name is J.K. Train.
Someone look it up. But I think no matter what,
look, that's not
right? That young man looks pretty black to me, brother.
No. Oh, yes, whatever. Well, he has a Asian name.
He may have an Asian name. He may be of mixed race ancestry, but he looks. I think he's black. But but guess what? That doesn't matter. What matters is that this happened, and again, it speaks to the ongoing crisis of mental health in the United States, as well as the accessibility of guns and the lack of regulation in this country around with gun violence and gun activity. I think it's heartbreaking. I really hope that everyone takes the time they need to really learn how to navigate the challenges that we're living in, because I don't think these challenges are going to become less. I actually think the challenges that we're facing are going to only become more as the days and months and the years go by. I think that we're living in a new era and a new age, and we have to learn to live through the crisis moments that we're living in, because I don't think it's going to get better. I'm afraid it's really not.
No, I completely agree. And it's like, at what point do we say, like, we're still having the same conversation? How many times have we talked about his sister? That's my sister, y'all. How many times have we talked about shootings just on this platform in our short 50 episodes? Tonight makes episode 50. How many times have we had to talk about mass shootings in the Publix, down to the Kroger, down to the school, down to the everywhere? It's like, what is it that lawmakers are going to do in order to ensure that, there are more rigorous requirements to get a gun? You need a mental health eval, whatever it may be. Making sure that people don't have access to guns that they can commit mass murders with, getting these guns off the streets that are military grade weapons. What is it going to take for this to become a reality? And I think that as long as the NRA is funding certain political candidates, we'll continue to have this issue, because at the end of the day, it's a money grab.
That's correct. Both of you said at the same time, it's about these special interest groups and how they're funding politicians to push and advance their agendas, because they're getting rich in the process. And it's really unfortunate, but there's not a whole lot that can be done, because that is what fuels politics. And it really is a disgusting system. And it really does make me question, the role that, who are the real politicians? Who are the good people in the game? Do we even have any left when so much of what's out there is being funded by these special interest groups? And so Candy said, I just want to know what is going on to make you want to walk in the grocery store and shoot lots of people. It's an absolute disregard for human life. That's what it comes down to, an absolute regard of human life. And again, I think it's exacerbated by mental illness. The fact that you can just go in the store and buy a gun like it's a pack of gum is crazy to me. Of course, we now know that it is significantly easier to purchase a gun than it is for a woman to get an abortion due to rape, incest, or any other mitigating cause or reason that she chooses is justified. And that is a part of it. And again, better screening for guns and people awareness of people in society would make a difference. But that's not going to happen as long as we allow huge amounts of money from special interest groups to influence political parties.
I also think that these guns are not necessarily guns that are probably coming out of the store. These are probably guns they can buy on the street from Joe Blow. Because guns are coming into the country all kinds of ways, and we don't know how they're getting them, but we also need to be mindful. So I do think stricter gun laws need to be put on the board, but nobody wants to talk about that because, like you all are saying, follow the money.
Right. It's like, if you can't get into a car without a license. You can operate a car without a license, but you can buy a gun without a license, and then you can get a weapon, a carry permit or whatever it is you want to get. It's backwards. It's like, it's harder to vote than it is to get a gun at this point.
And it's harder to vote than it is to get a gun in Georgia, Texas, and in a number of states. I was reading on a beautiful thread on Twitter where an attorney moved to Texas for a job from Colorado, and they would not allow her as a new resident of Texas to register to vote without her marriage license. Even though she had every other form of ID, they kept coming back saying you can't register because, again, they knew coming from Colorado, she was probably going to be a liberal, and they're doing everything they can to restrict people's access to voting. It was ridiculous. And she said, as an attorney, she couldn't believe that she was dealing with this in the 21st century as a white woman, but she was. So imagine what stipulations and laws and restrictions they're putting in to stop people from voting in places like Texas, where, again, anyone can get a gun. And someone needs to do something about it. And I always argue that someone is Joe Biden. However, what happened?
I was laughing.
However, it's highly unlikely he's going to do anything. And that, Tanya, is why I say it's not about, he's not going to have the numbers in Congress, and he's not going to have the numbers in the American public, because things are going downhill and going downhill fast. They're going downhill. I mean, I was going to make a joke that it was ageist, and I'm not going to. But again, it's going downhill. This is what President Biden, yep, that was shady. Yeah, absolutely. That is what President Biden, but it was reasonable. That is, President Biden is putting forth his budget, $3.5 trillion, in addition to his infrastructure plan. In his budget, he wants to increase education by 41%, increase spending in education by 41%, and some of that includes loan forgiveness. Some of that includes money to the poorest students and the poorest areas. A lot of that includes money for HBCU funding. That's what he wants to include and what he wants to put in his budget. More money around the Commerce Department so that he is able to create more jobs, health, and multiple. Also, the Environmental Protection Agency around climate change, but still increasing Homeland Security, Defense, Justice, and NASA just at a lower rate. However, this is highly unlikely to even get passed because Democrats themselves are not in support of Biden's agenda, and certainly the Republicans are not in support of Biden. Don't get excited. We got to keep hope. It was reasonably shady. Praise God. Yeah, we can praise God all day, Ashley, but it's very unlikely to pass because he does not have the votes. This is where my anger comes in, because I argue and say to myself, what have Democrats failed to do who we elected to make things happen, to make it easier? Why is it that Mitch McConnell and the Republicans can unify and come together, and we cannot even find a way to make progressives and moderates get along? Who's to blame? From your opinion, it's not me. If you're going to blame me, you might as well blame Dan Cathy and Truett Cathy of Chick-fil-A.
Oh, please, Zach. Let it go. Hey, Katie. No, I think
we have to blame you because it's people like you that keep talking about the rhetoric and saying these same things that we can't seem to get together.
We can't.
I blame everybody in the United States who did not vote for Bernie Sanders, and that's all I got to say.
Ooh. Bernie, I would never have voted for.
I'm glad you went off
me to vote for Bernie Sanders. I wouldn't have voted for Bernie Sanders because Bernie Sanders' vision is not the vision of America.
Didn't we almost have it all?
But when you look, I think Katie has a phenomenal point. Like, let me explain and further personify what I interpret this to mean. When Katie said, and this is something that Candy and I talked about today during our workout, because hate is unifying. For a number of Republicans, and not all Republicans, let me clarify that. I am not saying all Republicans. And I'm going to get big. I'm going to make myself big for this one.
Okay.
For a number of Republicans in the United States of America, it's particularly those who support Donald Trump and his agenda, nothing matters except the agenda of white supremacy. It doesn't matter that he tells you to drink hydrochloroquine. It doesn't matter that he tells you to contract COVID-19 and go and be with Jesus. It doesn't matter that he tells you to storm the Capitol, lest you and your son get arrested and hangs you out to dry. As long as he is giving you the promise that white supremacy, it will still be the the foundational part of the structure of our nation, you care, and that's all that you care about. And that is what is unifying these types of people to stand behind policies that are going to be detrimental to America. That is why you don't, even though what's happening in these bills, in Biden's proposal, will benefit the poorest, most disadvantaged people in America, including a majority of them being white Americans. They are not ever going to vote for a
Zach, you just made a great point.
Because it means more to them than their own financial security. And that is absolutely the unifier. Hate.
Zach, can you hear me? Okay, Zach, you just made a great point on why Donald Trump seems like to be a good leader, because they're unifying on one issue, whereas in our community, as well as in the Democratic Party, we're trying to get the mashed potatoes, the gravy, the turkey, the dressing, the greens. We want our plate full, and we want it to roll when they are just eating one thing at a time. And so we want it all at the same. And so we're not unifying on one issue.
But I feel like we can have it all, though. We can have it all. We really can have it all. It's just about making it happen. And here's the thing. Why not? Why not have it all?
I hate to say this to everybody, but you got to think about this, Darius. The Democratic Party, and they keep talking about this in so many media outlets, that the Democratic Party is a big tent party. And we have this huge giant umbrella that has all of these marginalized groups in it, and rightfully so, because we are the party of every person. We are the party of the majority of Americans, because the majority of Americans are brown and black and gay and bisexual and pansexual, and so many things that Republicans have denigrated and outcast. They don't want them in their party. But here's the problem. All of those people are also so many other things, and they crisscross with intersectionality at so many different points. And so while you may, again, someone who said you would have wanted Bernie, you see climate change maybe as a real issue. You see minimum wage as a real issue. You see the focus on increasing taxes on the wealthy as the issue. But you may have someone else, like, let's say, Michael Steele, who used to be a Republican, who is wealthy, who is a part of the Media's Touch. They don't want those things, so they're fighting against them. I have to say that I fully agree with Zach Thomas that if Democrats did one thing at a time and just simply took the time to move America forward, they will be better off. But you can't talk about climate change and immigration and raising the debt ceiling and changing minimum wage and raising taxes all at one time.
Education.
Because your message gets convoluted.
You have
the last
to.
thing I'm going to say is this. Democrats are not bringing Americans along with them. They are losing more and more of us every single day because they have so many divergent messages. In addition to having divergent messages, they have divergent priorities. There are things happening like Afghanistan, like the Delta surge, and like the Haitian humanitarian crisis border that shouldn't have happened. But if they were handling business and doing one thing at a time, those things probably wouldn't have gotten out of control, and it wouldn't have caused people to pull away. I know this. I receive about 6 text messages a day and emails about giving me some money. And when I tell you, I have blasted every single one and said, stop too quick. Do not text me again. Do not email me again, because I am not giving you a dime. You're not getting any money from me until you get off your behinds and make America and build back better. Because you ain't building nothing now but a whole bunch of mess.
Great.
I said build back better.
But who's on the edge?
Clown. But no, I think you have to make steady works towards all those goals, or because you have to understand that different people, like there are single party issue voters. Most people who voted for Trump voted for one issue and one issue only. People who are voting for Democrats are voting for a myriad of reasons. And if you're not making steady marks towards all of those promises to these people who voted for you, then people are not going to be satisfied. Now, granted, we have an issue with wanting it and wanting it fast. We want it and we want it now. I'm guilty of it. I want my student loan forgiven. I wanted that on day one. As soon as you walked into the White House, that's what you should have been signing on the dotted line, because I feel like that's what a lot of people voted for you based on the strength of you saying that. However, I know that it does take time, and we get into this thing where if it's not happening immediately, then you're not doing what you promised. So we will give him time. We will give the Biden administration and the Democrats time. We will. However, we do need to see the progress. And I think that you did a good job a few weeks ago, Zach, of showing where we are, what promises have been made, and how far we've made, moving towards those promises. But if you're not going to do it all, then don't promise it all.
Here's the thing, and I want us each to maybe answer Tanya's question. What issue would we choose? I have the answer. I absolutely have the answer. And I'm going to tell you what I would say, Tanya. But here's the thing, Darius. We don't have the luxury of time. The 2022 midterms are going to occur in 13 months. We have a year and 1 month until the next election is held. And the power that is bestowed upon the Democratic majority in the Senate and somewhat in the House, in the House of Representatives, but someone in the Senate will be at the balance. Democrats are projected to lose both. When that happens, there will be no bills passed. There will be no progress. We watched that happen at the end of President Barack Hussein Obama's tenure as president. Not only did no movement happen, but we couldn't even get the Supreme Court Justice Merrick Garland seated that was rightfully and constitutionally promised to President Obama. That is what we're dealing with. We cannot allow that to happen. But that is what's going to happen while Biden sits around and twiddles his thumbs and allows for piss poor PR moments like Haitians being slave whipped at the border by racists on horses. That's what's at risk. Now, when you talk about the issue to choose, Tanya, the issue should be and always should have been immigration reform. Democrats are slowly but surely losing our Zach, what's the appropriate term? Latine? Is that I want to Latine?
No, it's
how do I pronounce it?
You think probably Latinx, but it's
Latinx is not appropriate.
No. Well, no, it's appropriate for some.
No.
Not everybody is subscribing to those terms, but you're talking about Latine with the
Latine. That is the more appropriate term because it's actually a part of the Spanish language and lexicon. So I'm going to say
that's
say
not
Latinx.
appropriate for all.
You can say Latinx if you want to, and you can be outdated like it's 1994, but I'm going to say Latine. So our Latine brothers and sisters are slowly moving over to supporting the Republican Party because the Republican Party is putting their energy in that community. We need immigration reform, and we need to deliver on the Democratic promise to make more of to meet the needs of our Latine brothers and sisters. If we do that, and we should have done it when Obama first got in office, we would have had a generation of Democratic voters that would have turned the tide of how voting happens in America, but we didn't do it. The Democratic Party continuously ignores this community in favor of other communities like mine, and that is to their detriment.
My one issue would be
my community is going to vote for Kanye West. I'm just joking, but you know that I'm kind of not.
My one issue would be just the COVID-19 response. I feel like it's not been handled well, even with the Delta variant. 688,000 documented Americans have passed away, have lost their lives to COVID-19. And so my one issue would definitely be COVID-19 response, getting these teachers out of these incubators for COVID-19 that we call schools, on today, creating social distancing measures, tracking, contact trace tracking, finding out ways to get the children vaccinated a lot quicker. A whole litany of things that could be done that are not being done and are being left to local school boards to decide whether or not there are mask mandates. Like, this stuff is stupid. So COVID-19 response would definitely be my number one issue today.
I would definitely echo that because I think once we get a little bit of normalcy or whatever normalcy looks like now, people will be okay. And so I think having a better response plan for COVID-19 will be my top issue for right now, especially with education, because that involves education, that involves economics and finance, that involve healthcare. So I think understanding all of those components could be wrapped into the COVID-19 response. Is he asleep?
CJ don't care.
I'm over there, CJ.
He over there ordering Chick-fil-A right before 10 o'clock to come on Uber Eats.
I dare say him. You already know. No, I wasn't asleep though.
Okay, that's what I'm looking like. Wake your ass up.
I'm not asleep. No.
So here's the thing, and Katie, you have a good point. Yep, we just today, Senate Republicans blocked the increase of the debt ceiling so that government will shut down coming soon. I think Thursday is the final time, and we're going to have a shutdown. This is the dangers of playing politics. Democrats did it. Democrats did the same foolishness to Trump. They probably shouldn't have, and now it's coming back to bite us, and it's going to make Biden look even more incompetent than he already looks. So this is going to be another PR nightmare, but this time it's going to hurt the pockets of working class Americans who go every single day. And he did look like he was sleeping. Sleepy Joe and Sleepy CJ. Now,
no, Katie, I wasn't. No.
CJ, are you okay? Because CJ, are you okay?
I am okay.
Because many people were wondering this weekend if your friend was okay. Everybody, this is Kelly Price. And this past weekend, it became a national trending topic that Kelly Price was missing. She had been admitted into the hospital for COVID-19, and we found out that she was admitted. Family members didn't know where she was. Her boyfriend, who was then her
husband, he's married.
Found out is her husband was supposedly not cooperating with authorities. It turns out that she was somewhere in a secret location getting better. She is still dealing with the effects of COVID-19 by her own admission. A lot about this looked very suspect. It looked very fishy. And I have to say that I am concerned about the physical and mental and emotional well-being of Kelly Price.
He proposed to me.
I better leave Kelly Price alone. Kelly said that she didn't feel like being bothered.
Right.
She said, you need to get somewhere and sat down. I am trying to recover. I'm trying to recuperate. I need some time. And I ain't got time for you.
She died.
She
said what?
She said she died.
She said she flatlined. So she went on the King Jive show. She did an interview, and she said she already had COVID. She thought she could handle it at home, and she couldn't. So a weekend, she ended up going to the hospital. She actually said she did flatline, and they brought her back to life. And when they brought her back, she was like unconscious. They asked her, did she know what year it was, and so on and so on. And she said she was at home with nurses' aides, and because of HIPAA laws and things like that, certain things couldn't have been spoke about. That's what she said. She also said that she is now dealing with what's called long COVID, which I didn't know that was a thing called long COVID. I didn't know that. I just thought it was just COVID and the variants. So now she's having to, pretty much get back to what she says her concert mode, which is when she's concert ready. That's what she said. And there will be a long time before she gets back to normal with this long COVID. So that was news to me because I didn't know nothing about long COVID.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing. And a lot of people are suffering mentally. They're suffering physically. Some people still don't have their sense of taste or smell months down the road.
Right.
Organs.
No, and I've heard that, but I just never heard the term long COVID. She also said that, her family knew where she was. She said that she was getting... She said she hasn't talked to her sister since her mom passed away just last year, and she said that's nothing new. She said there's no secret. She said me and my sister don't have the best relationship. She also said that she was getting a lot of packages delivered to her house. They were disturbing her neighbors to where she couldn't get any rest. So she just went off of everything, social media, and she just didn't want to be bothered. They said they found her at the Steak and Shake, which I thought was shady. It was just shady. It was shady. It was shady. I feel bad for her. And then they said she believes that they manipulated her daughter, calling her a child when she's a grown woman. And they definitely played into that as well.
Do we know if she was vaccinated?
She did not say that, but she said her husband was taking care of her at first, and he was not. He didn't have.
He was
COVID.
not.
And
right.
Then he ended up catching COVID after taking care of her. So she was like, as you can imagine, there was no one coming to the house because they were completely isolating themselves. She said, so we weren't having visitors. She said at all. And she said she got discharged, I think, 4 weeks ago or a few weeks ago or something like that.
It's been a while because it was in July when she posted.
And they showed a video of her prior to her being admitted into the hospital. when she was giving an update saying, "Hey, I got COVID. I'm just trying to, deal with it the best way I can at home." So like she already knew, you know what I'm saying? So I think the media just hyped it up more than what it really was and trying to make a mockery out of something.
I don't know if
Do
it
you
was
think
really a mockery per se. I think that if
By saying at the Steak and Shake.
That was social media, but I don't think media did. I think that people on social media did that. So if you're considering that to be media, then sure. But
go ahead.
No, go ahead, Zach.
My question is, do you think that her missing, it's so ironic, came up right after everybody was on the media talking about we're not publicizing Black missing people, and after the Gabby, whatever her name is, and all of a sudden we out to look for Kelly Price. Where's she at?
I think that's different though, because celebrities have a certain level of influence that they don't need we're gonna look for her. And that's the thing. I think that if we're gonna look for her. We're going to look for her. We're gonna post and we're gonna share it, we're gonna retweet. I don't think that connection is like a big, like, blaring thing. However, if I were missing from five guys for a few weeks and y'all haven't heard from me, and then my mama go on social media and she like, I ain't heard from Darius. I don't know what's going on. Y'all gonna be looking for me too. And so I can see, well, y'all better be looking for me.
Lamont, you know who Kelly Price is, so don't even do that.
Don't do Kelly Price. However,
you know exactly who she is.
But here's the thing, Darius. Let me give a little bit of clarity on that, because you know what? If Darius Williams came up missing, yes, we would look for you. As of right. Where is Vince Ashton?
Where is Vince?
Where is Vince Ashton? Where is Vince Ashton? Where's Vince Ashton? But here's the thing, and Andy says, gun blazing. Vera will be, Mama Vera is ready to go. But look, guess what? It doesn't mean that there will be one police officer in America who cares. That doesn't mean there'll be one FBI agent in America who cares. Darius Williams is a degreed Black professional who has achieved a level of success in the world and contributes to society. But that doesn't mean that his Black life is going to be valued by law enforcement officers. This was seen in the case of Jelani Day. Jelani Day was a Black college student getting a master's degree, a member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity, and had been missing for weeks, a month or more. And guess what? His body was in a morgue. They had his body. His brother was on social media begging every day for someone to help find this man. He was begging every day for law enforcement officers to get involved, and the body was there. These people that had Jelani's body were too sorry, racist, and ignorant to take the time and just pay attention to the news and calibrate this body with this missing person. That is how serious it is when people of color and marginalized people in this country go missing, when there's foul play, when there's a homicide, when there is a crime. The devaluation of our lives became clear in the case of Jelani Day.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't want to draw the comparison to Kelly Price, because, of course, like I said, she has that type of influence where people care and will look for her. So I definitely echo your sentiments, and it's very sad that we even have to be concerned about whether or not we'll get Amber Alerts or whether or not we'll get the same type of attention that other races of people get in this country when they deal with missing persons and things like that. So it's terribly unfortunate.
So we will fight hard for him, and I'm sure that Vince is baking away, filling large orders, and we know that Vince's cheesecake orders and all the baking that he's doing is only going to increase as we approach the holiday season. We have now approached the conclusion of our hour, and we're getting ready for the after show. Tonight's after show, we're going to talk about where and how did Lil Nas X's album do. I did listen to it. So Darius, you will get my review. We're going to talk about the R. Kelly verdict as well as Cynthia Bailey being out on The Real Housewives of Atlanta. Again, the after show is a little bit more lighthearted, a little bit more entertaining. You will see these guys there on IG Live. But before we go, it is another day, and it's time for another Black History moment, because on Five Guys on Live, we celebrate Black History 365 days a year.
And that's 345 days a year if you're Portia Williams, but we're not going to do my girl. So,
you just did them.
And where how that live at? Now say what?
Now, okay, so on this day in the year 1817, Hiram Rhodes Revels became the first African American.
From what state?
He was from Mississippi, Zach. Okay, calm down. Well, he was actually from North Carolina, but he served in Mississippi. Rhodes was a freeman his entire life. He had a moderate political orientation and oratorical skills as a preacher, and he filled the Senate seat again in 1870. And so that was on this day that Hiram Rhodes served as the first Black senator, born in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and he was there in 1870. So that is our moment in Black history for this week.
Oh, they didn't teach that in Mississippi Studies.
They didn't teach that to y'all.
I knew that without a Zach. We had two Black senators in Mississippi during Reconstruction. Mississippi was one of the most progressive states during Reconstruction for Black people. Black people in Mississippi had huge gains during the time frame. So Mississippi was radically and quickly changing. So yeah, you had Hiram Revels, and what was the other bunch? It was a bunch. Bruce. So it was a B name. And so yeah, both Mississippi, both serving in the United States Senate during that time. And I learned it. My teachers taught me that, but maybe my teachers were maybe a little bit more woke than yours. Makes a lot of sense as to why I don't eat Chick-fil-A today. Thank you to those educators from Kemper County, Mississippi. With that being said, everyone, thank you for joining us, and we will see you on the after show. Have a great week.
All right. I'm hanging out with y'all for just a few minutes. I got to go.
You're going to give us an hour.
An hour?